So for today, the first part of class, we're going to focus on the other side, the producer side, the law of supply. But before we do so, let's do a quick review. If you'll have someone set a 3-minute timer on their computer and make it large enough for the class to see, and if you will find someone to speak with and to answer the following 4 questions once the person with the timer says go. Pause it here, and then when you're done, return. All right, so hopefully you remembered all the stuff that we talked about or you watched in the video yesterday about demand. So what I'd like for you to do is to get out your demand schedule that I asked you to complete by block day, and to, if I was smart enough, I created one of these for you to create your demand graph. But if for some reason I forgot, if you'll get out just a blank sheet of paper and draw this line with price and quantity, and then you're going to mark on each axis what seems to be appropriate. So you probably won't go above 30 on quantity, but you may want to go 0 in increments of 5 or increments of 2. You get to decide. And on price, it really depends on your price. If you had an extreme range of prices, you may want to go 0 to 20 and do every 2. Or if everyone's stuck between 0 and 5, you might do every 50 cents. But in the end, what I want you to do is I want you to plot your graph. And what you should see is a negative sloping line if you did it correctly. If you have anything that doesn't look like that, and it looks to be up and down, chances are you forgot to tally. If they said $1, tally everything from $1 and below in your charts. So pause this and allow everyone to create this. Make sure your name is on it. Make sure you label it with a title, and pause it now, and then return when everyone's turned it in. Okay. So today our learning target is to describe and graph the law of supply and explain its relationship to price. So, what is supply? Well, if demand is the willingness and ability for consumers to purchase a good or service, you will not be surprised to find out that supply is the willingness and ability of a producer to make or provide a good or service. So please add that to your notes there. And when we think about supply, we're going to have to think in the mindset of a producer. So make sure that you pretend for a second that if you're a producer, your sole goal is to make money. Okay? So normally what I would do is have you do a little activity where I would provide you M&Ms for producing one of 3 products. You could either produce 15 push-ups, a 30-second wall squat, or a 30-second plank. So what I'd like for someone to do is to set up a schedule kind of similar to your demand schedule, and to record those people who are going to participate depending on the price. So for the very first round, I will provide 0 M&Ms for anyone willing to do 15 push-ups or a 30-second wall squat or plank. So what that means is when I come back, anyone who volunteered this round to do a wall squat, a plank, or push-ups, I will come back, and when I get back, I will give you 0 M&Ms. So if anybody's willing to do it, pause the video, set a 30-second timer, and allow them to do their push-ups or wall squats or planks. All right, so round 1 is in the books. Well, I will find out when I get back if someone did a wall squat or a plank or a push-up. Whoever is recording this would have a little T-chart with price and quantity, and on one price they would say 0 M&Ms, and for the quantity we would put the number of students that did either of those things. All right, for round 2, it's going to look quite similar, except this time I'm going to up the price. And instead of 0 M&Ms, I will give 1 M&M to anyone willing to perform 15 push-ups or a wall squat or plank. So if anyone is willing to do that, figure out who is willing to do it. My scribe, if you'll just write that on your chart, and then pause the video and set a 30-second timer, and have anyone willing to produce it. All right, so when I get back, I'll see how many people performed that. Now also, if someone did perform that, do me a favor and write their name so I know who to give M&Ms to. At this point, only anyone who participated in this round would be paid 1 M&M. All right, for round 3, let's up the ante to 3 M&Ms. So anyone willing to do the push-ups, the wall squat, or the plank, you will get paid 3 M&Ms. The scribe will write down your name, and we'll figure out how many people are willing to get paid 3 M&Ms on Monday. So pause the video. All right. Round 4. Y'all don't know how many rounds there are, but round 4 I will give you 6 M&Ms. And again, if you've been doing these, you can rack up a nice handful of M&Ms come Monday. But on round 4, I will give 6 M&Ms to do any of those tasks. So if anyone is interested, pause the video, set a timer, and document who is willing to produce those goods or services. All right. Last and final round. I will give 12 M&Ms to anyone willing to do 15 push-ups or a 30-second wall squat or plank. So, decide who wants to do it, pause the video, set a timer, and document who is willing to do that. All right, so we have done 5 rounds. This was our last round. So if you were banking on 24 M&Ms, I'm sorry, didn't happen. But hopefully your scribe has something that maybe resembles this. The quantities would probably look different. But at 0, I'm basing this based on previous examples of doing so. On previous times, this is how it usually ended up. At 0, very few people were willing to do it. Usually someone who just wanted to show their abilities would do it, but at 0 M&Ms, not getting paid, not many people wanted to produce that good. At 1 M&M, I had more people. At 3, more, and usually there was a big jump between 3 and 6, and I would get most of the class there, and then finally the few stragglers, maybe 1 or 2 would go. Now I would usually have 1 or 2 people who are not willing or able to produce that good or service, which is fine. They did not have to participate in that market, but I wanted you to see what this would look like, and hopefully yours is similar. Now, you'll need to make sure that you have documented who gets paid, who participated in each round, so I know how many to pay them when I return. All right, so let's put in our notes the law of supply. And what that states is as prices rise, the quantity supplied increases. So just like demand, where demand is a range of prices, as prices rise, supply doesn't change, but the quantity supplied increases, meaning at any given point, that's the amount a producer would be willing or able to produce at that given price. Okay, so as prices rise, quantity supplied increases, which we saw on this slide, right? As more M&Ms were offered, more people were willing to produce that good or service. All right. Now, as prices fall, quantity supplied will decrease, right? If at 0 M&Ms, very few people are willing to perform physical labor, right? So as you can see, the law of supply is a direct relationship. It is the opposite of the law of demand. So as prices rise, producers are more willing to produce at those prices. All right. Now, if you're thinking, well, at lower prices they might get more demand, then we're thinking about the interaction of supply and demand. But producers are always willing to produce at higher prices if they think they can make more money at higher prices. Why not accept a higher paying job for your labor, which is something that you individually can produce if you're given that opportunity. So how would this look on a graph? Remember, demand looks something like this. What would supply look like? All right, hopefully you recognize that it would look something like this. All right, so demand and supply. So let's look at what this looks like in the real world. And to do so, we're going to look at a movie called The Hudsucker Proxy. And we're going to ask some questions at the end of this video. So all I want you to do is sit back, relax, and watch the video. And it looks like you're going to have someone exit out of this video, open up the video I've shared with them, and to watch that with your group. So pause it here and open up the other video. All right, so now that you've seen the video, with your partner, I want you to discuss the following. What role did pricing play in the video? What change did demand have in the video? What role did demand play in determining supply? What do you think would happen to the price of hula hoops over time? And identify a real-world example similar to this. And I would like for you to jot those on the whiteboard and have someone take a picture at the end of class. So take about 3-4 minutes, have someone set a timer, and answer these questions with a partner. And you can pause it right now. Okay, so when supply meets demand, the last part of our notes today is a very particular term. So remember, buyers want to buy at the lowest possible price, and sellers want to sell at the highest possible price. Well, those can, as you can see, those tend to conflict with each other. And if you were able to do our activity last week, you will see that at some point you have to agree upon a price. And that agreed upon price is called equilibrium. So I'm going to show you what equilibrium looks like. I want you to put this graph in your notes as well. All right, so here's our demand line in blue, our supply line in red, and our equilibrium point right here where they meet. Okay, this is the equilibrium price. It's where supply and demand meet. Now, one thing that's not in this slide that I definitely want you to add is that this also goes by a term called the market clearing price. Again, the market clearing price. That's just another word for equilibrium, but the reason they call it the market clearing price is because it is at this price that whatever good was bought and sold, it officially clears the market. So if you take something off the shelf and you pay for it, then that item has officially cleared the market and can no longer be purchased, right? So at a given price, we see the market clearing price or equilibrium price where producers and consumers agree upon that price. All right. Now, that is when the quantity demanded, remember quantity demanded is a point on the line, is equal to the quantity supplied, another point on the supply line. So what might happen if we set the price too high? Well, if we set the price up here, all right, think about that for a second. If we set the price up here, look at where this price would intersect both the demand and the supply line. And what a high price would mean was that we have a supply, the quantity, demanded at this blue line would be a lower number than if we came over here to the quantity supplied at the red line. So if we have more that is supplied than is demanded, right, we have more on the shelves than people want, we're going to see a surplus that will exist here. Okay? And if we set the price too low, the opposite would happen, right? Our quantity supplied would be right here, and our quantity demanded at a lower price would be right here. We'd have a lot more demand for a good than there would be supply of that good, right? So we'd run out of it real quick, and we would have a shortage, right? So please make sure in your notes that you also put that if we set a price too high, we're going to see a surplus. And if we set a price too low, we're going to see a shortage. All right, and that's going to end our notes for today. Before you end this video, please make sure you pass out the video guides for the second 30-day video, which you and your class are going to watch. And if you have time at the end, you'll have a few discussion questions. Thanks.